Good morning. Welcome to YourTown TV in beautiful Monterey on this amazing day. We're so blessed to be here. Such beauty every day we get to wake up to and enjoy our community. My name is Sofanya and I'll be your host today on YourTown. I'm an artist. I live in Big Sur. And I just want to mention that recently I came out with my new line of wearable art, and feel free to go to my website and check that out. That's sofanya.com. So I am so excited today as I get to talk to and share with you my dear friend who I've known for I don't even know how long now, and amazing, profound artist, Lynne Cook.
Hi, Sofanya. Thank you.
Hi, Lynne.
Back at you with the amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, truly, I've admired you for so many years. Your work is really, truly profound.
Thank
you. Well, I have my little notes here. I not only have always admired you, but partially because there's such a depth to your work. It has, with a depth of symbolism, and I kind of get the feeling it transcends time. It feels kind of ancient, it feels relevant in the present, and it kind of takes you into the future as well.
Yeah, this latest show that I just did was called The Guardians, Primal and Present Icons, and it was about that. It was about how people tend to look outside themselves to give homage to or devotion to you know, something that's larger than life, a god, a goddess, many gods and goddesses through the history of the world, and how our current devotion goes to the lit screen. So in those images that you see of the gods and goddesses, there is these little icons of computer screens and little people looking at they're more icons that you have to, they look like a design, but they're kind of meant to be because that's what we pay our devotion to a lot these days. So that was the last show, and then I've kind of had a hard time stopping with that because I really enjoyed it, you know, and I just, when I got finished with that, I did these scratch boards that were really tight and defined and hyper detailed. And then when I got done with that show, I started doing this real painterly.
Do you find that balances you out when you switch up like that?
Yeah, you know, and it's always been like that. When I'd finish something, I'd want to do something completely different. And a dear friend of mine, Jack Van Beber, I don't know if you know Jack, but this is his ring actually.
Oh.
He's an
gorgeous.
incredible artist. Anyway, he said to me one time, you know, back in the 80s, as long as you do series, it doesn't matter if you switch up, you know, because like I'll do a series of sculpture, then I'll do a series of painting, then I'll do a series of whatever, right? But it always has some kind of a continuity to it, and then I feel freer to, you know, do that. And so right now I'm working on a series that is kind of flights of the mind, and they're because I haven't been traveling. I love to travel, right? And I've always loved to travel, and I haven't been traveling as much lately. And so these are like imaginary places that I'm making that I would love to be in.
Oh,
you know, it's
I don't think I've seen those.
I maybe not, but this is like this one. I sent you a picture. It's not really totally finished, but it kind of started out to have this dark kind of, had a jazz bar downstairs, and that's turned into kind of a church, and it's yeah, anyway, these things could take years to finish because I just keep changing them, you know.
Do you find that sometimes you begin a painting, put it aside, and then get to it later?
Yeah. Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Because sometimes I'm just not satisfied with it ever, and then one day it'll be there and I'll go, oh.
God, that sounds so familiar.
Yeah, yeah. It's cool to be able to do that, you know.
I read on your website that dreams are a large part of your reality, and that you've been writing them down and interpreting them for years.
Yeah.
Is that something you still do on a regular basis? Do you journal?
I do, and I just found something interesting that, Jungian psychology says that everybody in your dream is some aspect of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other day I had, and if you really go into every part of your dream, like even if, say, there was a swamp with an alligator in it, and you said, well, okay, I am this swamp wanting Lynne to come into the swamp and experience this because I need this interaction, and I'm the alligator, and I want... Anyway, if you do this, it can kind of give you a whole different reality of why you're here and what your purpose is, what you came into this life to grow through and understand. And so I did that recently, and it was really, I forgot that I even wrote it down because I went back to sleep, and I just reread it, and it was about, I don't even know right now, but it was about prison. And so I think that a big part for me was being free, kind of, in this life, to seek freedom and not be bound in any way.
That's always been a theme. And I think when you are able to recognize the feeling in your dream, in your daily life, in your conscious life, then there are messages of revelation about yourself that your subconscious is showing you.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, isn't it?
It's a big part of our lives, right?
It is.
So why ignore it, I think.
Well, no, and it's fascinating. I'm always fascinated by the way that memory works, and that you can actually, it's like we have this screen in here, and you're able to recall images and then actually change them too, if you want to. Like, maybe a painful experience from the past, sometimes you're able to review it and take a different perspective on it.
Or work through it.
And very often that's done through art, which obviously art is, for you, very much so visual arts, but it's also writing, dreaming. And like you say on your website, kind of reminds me a little bit of mine, your tagline on there is art, love, and life. And, really that encompasses everything.
Yeah, it does. And the dreams, it is kind of like, I've always dreamt of fish. I was jumping in a river and catching a salmon with my bare hand, or I had a little goldfish bowl that was filled with beer, and I was worried for the safety of the fish. Well, these were just projections of what was going on in my life,
So were you able to discern what the correlation?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It was really obvious at the time.
Okay.
And there was just like, these were almost nightly. So I do have a series of fish dreams, too. I mean, fish paintings that I'm working on right now.
So have you translated some of that into your visual art?
Yeah. Lot of, in fact, I was just working on one yesterday that is a kind of a fish painting. I don't know where it's all going. It's just I keep circling around and working on different things, and then...
Well, the fish does circle around in the bowl.
Yes, it does.
Well, I'll be excited and interested to see, how that reveals itself to you. And I think very often we're kind of similar that way, too, that, you might start with an idea, but then it really reveals itself to you along the way. And what was your maybe initial impulse or inspiration that made you realize that this is your path? Was it when you were a very young child?
Yeah, when I was really young, and I was supposed to be listening to the teacher, I would always be drawing, and I couldn't seem to make myself stop, and if it was really an interesting class, I would listen to the teacher, but a lot of math classes, I would wake up from my reverie and realize that we'd moved on to algebra, and I was a little bit,
Got a little behind on that.
Yeah, but you know, and then I thought about all the things. You know, they always ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I think about all the, do I want to be a nurse? God, no. Do I want to be, you know, all the things. And
yeah,
kind of it was the only thing that made sense to me, you know, and I didn't really want a job, you know.
So that freedom theme is also part of being an artist, and because you have really pursued art as a vocation and a passion, and you also worked for a long time with Ivan Earle. That was amazing. He was a profound artist in this area too.
That was such a huge inspiration for me, because at that time when I went to work for him, I was such a, you know, I was going to school before that, and I was going to school in Santa Cruz and working at the sardine factory as a cocktail waitress. And as a, you know, I spent some time at Hammerheads as a bartender. You know, I mean, I did that kind of, you know, and it was a real party scene. I was constantly
When
partying.
was that?
In the 80s.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
we were all partying in the 80s. Somewhat.
Yeah. But I mean, it was like I saw many sunrises from the other end, you know.
Oh.
So, yeah, you know, and then when I went to work for Ivan, I was so used to seeing the sunrise from being up. And I had this 8 o'clock job. I had to be there at 8. And Ivan was very metaphysical, and he meditated all the time, and he, you know, Sri Aurobindo was one of his teachers, and he was really wonderful man. And so here I am rolling in all, you know, undisciplined, and so in order to just hang with him, I had to be disciplined, more disciplined than I had ever been. And so it was good for me, you know. I'm really grateful. I was there for 22 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it was really good, because we used to
didn't
travel
realize that.
and set up art shows,
Oh my
and I got to,
gosh.
he loved my sculpture. I got to show
Your sculpture
in
is
these,
amazing.
Thank you. And I got to show alongside of him in
Yeah.
all these shows, right?
Wow.
So it was a real blessing for me to be able to do that. And then, like, we'd be in New York, and different galleries would see my work, and they'd say, could we show your work? And so I got a lot of galleries that way.
Wow.
It was a real, and I didn't, you know, it was like being divided, like, okay, here I am as an artist, and now I'm working, and I'm Ivan. Because I would take his paintings, and everything was manual. You know, you take a painting that's very detailed, and you do color separations, and one by one you print these colors.
There were serigraphs, right?
Yeah, and it takes sometimes one serigraph was like 125 colors or something.
Oh my gosh.
And each one is a different screen, and each one is a different, you know,
Wow.
you print the paper, you put the paper in the rack to dry, then you print the next layer. And so doing that for 22 years, it was just, had a profound effect on me as an artist, you know, and I always didn't want to copy, you know, but that was so burned into my brain, so I'd always do sculpture because he didn't do sculpture, and I wouldn't paint because I didn't want to go in that direction. But anyway, it was a great inspiration for me, and we did everything there, you know. I mean,
wow,
and it also gave me good income, so I could afford do the things I wanted to do, you know.
What a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah.
And blessing for both of you.
Yeah.
So he imparted a lot of wisdom and knowledge with you, and you probably inspired him and, you know, helped him.
It was a real sweet relationship, and his wife too, you know, and toward the ends of their lives, they were, you know, I was taking them to hospitals and stuff. And so that was
like family.
It was like family to me for, you know, because it was a pretty long relationship. And so then it was also when they were gone, then it was time for me to get to be me. You know?
And you certainly are. You are, I always feel like when you walk in the room, I feel like art's walked in the room, kind of.
Well, back at you too, beautiful woman.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So are you in any galleries right now?
No,
locally?
I mean, right now I've just no longer affiliated.
Oh.
I'm not affiliated, and I've been in a lot of galleries. Well, I do have one gallery left in Chicago.
So what are your plans for the future? Do you know what direction you want to go in?
You know, I think sometimes about having a gallery, and I don't really like being a gallery sitter. I'd like being involved in a gallery to where I could actually have more control over what happens with my work. But I don't know. You know, maybe maybe we have to think outside the box now.
Absolutely.
Because
so
galleries are having real struggles. I've had many galleries that had my work that have either retired or closed down, or, you know, and so.
Well, I think just being open to the new possibilities. And, you know, just really allow the next phase to come in.
Yeah, I agree.
But the world should see your work and you. I really feel that strongly. And I think, you know, you have a beautiful website too, which I hope everybody goes to.
Yeah,
Marin Elwood.
Did that. Yeah.
She's very good. She did mine too.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's amazing too. I interviewed her.
Yeah, I saw it. It was very good.
Yeah. So what is your vision in terms of maybe what you'd like to impart to others as you move on in life?
Well, you know, I think everybody has their own dream and their own version of what success is. We talked about that. And I think that, you know, it's as varied as every different person. And for me, I'd like to, I can't help but do art because that's just kind of what I do, but I would like to travel more again, like I used to. And I'd like to have some adventure.
Well, the adventure never stops,
It
right?
never stops, but it's been a little bit tamer, just because I've been here. And you know what? If I'm going to be anywhere, I love it here.
Yeah,
I'm not complaining.
No matter where you go, it's always good to come home.
It's always good to come home. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy that we get to be in the same community together.
I am
Maybe
too.
we'll travel.
You want to?
Yeah, let's go
Where
somewhere.
would you like to go?
Maybe Bali, Thailand.
Yeah, I like those.
I don't know.
Yeah, that
or into
sounds good.
dreamland.
Yeah,
we could explore interpreting dreams.
Well, yeah, I was wondering if I was going to be limited to that now.
No, I don't think so. There are no limits for you.
No, thank you.
Possibilities are endless.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, thank you so much. I think
Thank
this
you.
has been really beautiful.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, and congratulations on your new clothing wear. I think it was so exciting
fun.
to see you strut around with that. It was beautiful.
It was a good fashion show.
It was.
West End. Awaken. Yeah. I love that title.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, you're awesome, and thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you again soon.
Okay.